Welcome back. Today's Success Through Connections is brought to you by Legacy Realty Group, North Florida. So, for all your real estate needs, whether it's buying, selling, renting, and investing, Zelda can help you with all those needs in the United States. So, go Zelda, your go to realtor. Today, I have an absolutely incredible guest. He's somebody very special to me, Pixie Larizza. She's probably one of the most creative people that I've ever known. She thinks of all kinds of great creative artsy things to do. And we're going to talk to her today about her process and the connections she's made. Now, you know that every time I bring on a new guest, I like to tell you how the connection was made with me and that guest. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Pixie. She doesn't know I'm going to say all this. So here it goes. So Pixie, I met her probably 15, 20 years ago. We were both in the same women's organization. It was for women business owners. And so I met her and I served on different committees that she was also a part of. And we clicked. We weren't super close, but we were friends and it worked. And really about 4 or 5 years ago, out of the blue, Pixie started organizing smaller groups that I became. She probably did it longer than 4 or 5 years ago, but that's when she included me. And she asked me, along with 6 other women, if they'd like to join her for a mini vacation about an hour and a half outside of Jacksonville. She had rented a condominium, and we would all share the condo together and have a mini retreat. And I said, sure. Now, I knew who the other women were. I just didn't know them very well. But why not? So the 7 of us got together at this condo out in Palm Coast, Florida, and we all just clicked. We just connected. And to this day, we get together. We go on some mini trips together. We get together for dinners. They celebrated my birthday, a big one. We won't say which one. And and that is how that connection started. And she is a true connector. If there ever was somebody who's a magnificent connector, it is Pixie. So we're going to talk to her today about all the stuff that she does and all of her kinds of connections and what she does. So welcome to today's show, Pixie. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Zelda. I appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
So I wanted to ask you, you are so Pixie, what kind of stuff does she does? She paints on glass. I don't have one of my glasses with me. I meant to have one. She paints glass, vases, wine glasses. I guess anything that if it's on a glass, she's going to paint it. And that morphed, if I'm not mistaken, into taking her creative designs and putting them on clothing such as yoga pants and scarves and wraps. And I happen to have a few of them that this one is one of my favorite ones that I've acquired because it goes with so much of my stuff. This one, and I have another one that's got, it looks like paint splatters, but it's gorgeous. So she paints all these beautiful things. And now she's doing something new called Pixie's Pantry. And we'll get into that in just a few moments too. But wanted to ask you, so what initially sparked your interest in painting on glass and then getting into the painting on the fabrics?
It started with a workshop called the Painting Experience out of California, and it was painting for process, not for product. And so I spent the weekend just putting paint on paper and not worrying about what the outcome looked like. And I've always been a fan of meditation and inner therapy, and this was a little bit of both of those. So, of course, I bought all the paints and the brushes and the paper and get home, and then it just wasn't the same.
So
And
you went to California for this?
it actually came to Jacksonville.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And since then, I have done probably 7 others. I did a week long, 2 week long intensives. One was in Texas, one was in North Carolina. I've done some in Orlando because I just really enjoyed the process of how it got me to a more creative place. And I always liked functional. I knew I wouldn't hang these pieces of paper on the wall. So I'm a big fan of stained glass. And I thought, well, you know what? What if I painted a wine glass? What would that look like? So I went out and bought 4 pots of paint, red, green, blue, and white. And my husband's Jewish, so I painted 2 Hanukkah wine glasses and 2 Christmas wine glasses, of which I still have to this day.
Uh-huh.
And the journey began. It just really started as more of therapy versus having any idea that it would turn into a business. And about 2 years after I started painting, people wanted to start buying my work. They wanted to start painting with me. And it just organically turned into that business of pixie glass.
Then
From
you
there,
started teaching classes.
yep, started teaching classes. I do them from, bridal showers to birthdays to women's getaways. I've done it for church groups, mosh downtown. They're just a lot of fun because it gets people out of their head of it has to be perfect. It just has to be fun.
This
And
is
that's really,
Mine are far from perfect when I do it.
yeah, but it's fun, right?
It's fun and it is therapeutic.
Yes.
If you're stressed, go out there and paint some glass and it's
Yeah. It's
so
not that you want anything else.
how did you get from there to painting on it to the designing of the scarves and the yoga pants and the wraps and things?
There was a website online that allowed artists to transfer their designs onto certain things, the wraps and the scarves. And I thought, well, let me just see what it looks like. So I did and started creating a couple more different designs and then sending those links out to friends. And they were selling so well, I thought, well, gosh, I'm going to go ahead and just, do it on my own. But I always knew it would look good on clothing just because I'm very colorful. I like bright things, bright colors, and I love things that flow. So the flowing of the wraps and the scarves and the leggings and yoga pants, they're just fun. It's not the normal gray or black or white or striped or that kind of thing. So yeah.
That's very interesting. So, were there any people in particular that helped you, that gave you some advice or said, "Hey, Pixie, here's an idea for you," those connections that helped you get where you are? Like, for instance, you have to source this stuff. Did you just go online, or were there any people in particular that helped you make those steps, those connections
My
or
marketing,
advice?
yeah, my marketing manager, who's also my husband, he has connections in China because we have other products that we source. So we sourced, we went to India, we went to China, compared prices. But I would say probably from a local perspective, Catherine Way, who started her own clothing design, I was a big fan and she carried Pixie Glass in her shop. And when I told her what I wanted to do, she was very instrumental in giving me the lowdown on how she got into the clothing business and what that looked like and what it took, and not to be discouraged and to do clothing shows and those type of things. So she was very helpful, and her staff very supportive. So I'd say that was probably because it's one thing to get the product. It's another thing, how do you get the product out there? And so she was
Yes.
very helpful with that.
That's everything.
Yeah, right.
Marketing is everything. You can have the best mousetrap in the world, but if people don't know about it, they're not buying it.
Right.
Yeah, Catherine Way's an awesome person. She's in my book, actually, The Art of Bouncing Back. She's a pretty inspiring lady. So, besides Catherine Way, are there any people, not necessarily that you've connected with, but are your inspirations in the art world and in the fashion world, the people that influence you?
I love to go to art galleries and art walks, art shows, because just to see what people are creating, that's always a lot of fun. And there's Christine Rogers, who was with Jacksonville Women's Network. She's fantastic. We bounce things off each other. She's more of a potter. And at the same time, we still have that creative spark connection. And every time we see each other, we're always talking about what our passion is, something that ignited her, or a YouTube video. So she's been great in having that art connection. And there's a few other I see on Facebook, not doing shows so much anymore. So I lost contact with some of those people that I would see at shows. Yet we still, thank goodness for Facebook, right? That still keep in touch and support each other from that.
So, because I know you so well, how does your and I didn't mention this earlier, but you also do massage, and how does that all fit into the scheme of things? You've taught massage to the universities.
Yeah, having been a therapist now for 35 years, there's a creative process to that as well, in terms of working with clients, because each person's body, although we have the same parts, the body types are all different. And I think it really led me to the painting process because I wanted something to help me process everything I was hearing. Clients are, when they're on the table, there's a lot of release that can happen and sharing past experiences, whether it's a trauma or a stress. And I just wanted something to kind of help flush that out for me. So when I started doing the painting, I realized that I had more energy for the body and the energy work, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And now, as a certified holistic coach, combining the two. So it's coaching, massage, energy work, aromatherapy, just a combination, whatever the client might need. So that's creative. Every time I have a new client or an existing client, the sessions are never the same because whatever they come in with, that's what I do is create something specific for them at that moment where they are.
I just love how creative your brain works. I wish mine was that creative. It's like when I purchased my new home 5 years ago, can't believe it's been 5 years. You were one of the first people that came over and said, well, first we got to get rid of the bad vibes from anybody who came in here that was like a contractor. What did you call that with the what do you call
It's smudging. It's a smudge stick.
smudging? She smudged my house and it's like lit this thing and we had the smoke going. So any bad energy that could have been existing in this house from the contractors was gone. I mean,
Start
that's
crushing.
creative stuff. Who thinks of this? Pixie does. I love your brain. So now you've been doing all these incredible creative things and you came up with this new idea about Pixie's Pantries. Tell us more about that. How did you come up with this idea and what excites you the most about this adventure?
I love to cook. I've always loved to cook. My first foray into entrepreneurship was a catering company, and I love the Food Network. So my husband and I watch it pretty much every night. And there's times I just go in the kitchen trying to look for something for dinner, and Rob would come in and he goes, "I can't believe you made that. Where was all that stuff?" And I thought, well, I just went through the pantry, and maybe it's leftover vegetables and make it a stir fry rice or whatever the case may be. And so we talked about Pixie's Pantry, that I would invite myself over to friends' houses, go over there and cook for them whatever they had in their refrigerator or their pantry. No special items required. And I like it because the actual art of cooking to me is creative. I'm not a recipe person unless I have to bake because that's a science. And I was never good in science. So that I have to follow a recipe. But when it comes to other things, I just like to experiment with flavors and tastes and textures. And I thought, I've been talking about it for 2 years. It's time to just go for it. And I love I love being able to talk about all the things I like to do in the kitchen. Things that I was raised, things that I've learned on Food Network, and just have fun. And then at the end of it, the joy of eating the food with those friends that are like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought to put this together.
Like you did at my, so I will tell our audience that Pixie said, okay, Zelda, the world knows I don't cook. It's a joke. I don't cook. And I barely bake because I just don't enjoy it, but I like to eat. So Pixie came over and I knew she was coming. And I was like, all I have in the house are eggs. And I really don't want to eat eggs for dinner. I don't want an omelet. So she knew that there'd be nothing in my pantry or in my refrigerator. But when she came in, she opened up the doors and said, "You got plenty of stuff in here." That's because that morning I went to the grocery store and I purchased some chicken and some vegetables and a whole bunch of stuff. So she had something. And let me tell you, she was so creative. Threw in some old salsa from, you put on nachos, you put that on there, you put some everything bagel on the broccoli. I do that now to this day because of you teaching me to do that. And she just went into the refrigerator in the pantry. I don't remember it all, but it was probably one of the best meals I have had in years. It was just stuff thrown together from the pantry and the fridge that you made. And it was just so creative, so delicious. I ate that for probably 4 nights until I was so sick of eating that chicken. But, but then you said, hey, make nachos out of it. So I shredded up the chicken and everything, went out to the store, bought some nacho chips, threw that on there, and it was like, oh my God, mwah, so creative. So yeah, Pixie's Pantry, it's it's a winner. It's an absolute winner. So how have your connections and your relationships within the creative community helped you in this entrepreneurial journey? How have your friends helped you? How do people help you?
Yeah, well, they helped me by letting me come and cook for them. And, there's some, I've got some stuff for August, and that's really, really cool. I'm excited about that. They just letting me be me and not worrying about what the house looks like, what the kitchen looks like. That doesn't matter. I'm going to cook. And although I do like to film it just because I want to be able to, who knows where that might lead, right? And to be able to have fun and be engaging. And if somebody else picks up, like the all bagel seasoning, that they use it on their vegetables now, or they like it in their cream cheese, whatever the case may be, that's like, yeah, that's a win. That's a positive nugget that was left behind.
Never thought put it in the cream cheese. I love it now. I keep it on the side of my oven now, and I like, oh, I think I'm going to throw this in, and I throw it in everything now. I love it. It's like I never would have thought to just throw spices together like that. Never. It's like
Mm.
not in a recipe. I don't do it. So yay, kudos to Pixie for that. So you're building your Pixie's pantry and all of the other things. What challenges have you faced in these various ventures, and how do you overcome them to achieve your successes?
Really sometimes the biggest challenge is myself. I talk to my friends, they go, oh yeah, I'd love to come. And then I'll read into that. Well, maybe they do, maybe they don't. So maybe I don't follow up. And, I'm really working diligently to just explore it all. And if they say yes, I'm like, okay, wait for the phone call because I'm going to call you and we're going to schedule it and
Absolutely.
and be more proactive. I don't want to.
Ask you, how do you manage your time and energy? I get this all the time. It's like, Zelda, how do you do a podcast and sell real estate and do professional speaking and all these other things? And it's like, what's your secret to how you manage your time and your energy between the painting and the designing and the Pixie's pantry? And how do you do that?
Meditation.
Oh,
Meditation and awareness. I do it every day. It's a practice. If I don't do it, then I do feel out of sorts. Even if it's 10 minutes, it doesn't have to be an hour long. And being mindful about being in the present. Can be easy to project and be into next week already. Oh my gosh, I have to schedule this, that, and the other for next Thursday. Or think about what I didn't get done yesterday. And when I do my work with clients and teaching classes, it's really encouraging everyone to stay in the present moment. What might I miss if I'm not paying attention?
yeah. That's a great productivity tip is to meditate. I started doing that this year. I did it off and on, but I'm now conscious of doing that every single morning. I sit with my coffee on the patio and I am meditating.
Yeah. And it can be just quiet time too. It doesn't have to be
Yes,
where you're closing your eyes and or.
yes, exactly. Exactly. It's just some quiet time for yourself to
Yes. And breathing deeply, breathing often.
well, I know you've helped me with that. When I've been stressed out, Pixie will say, just breathe, Zelda, just breathe. And it's like, yes, catch a moment and just breathe. So that is great advice, Pixie. Great advice. So what are your future goals for your artistic endeavors and the Pixie's Pantry in particular? What are the goals?
Well, Food Network, I could handle that. I think that would be really fun. So for Pixie's Pantry, yeah, I'm looking. I have a good feeling about it. So whether they keep the name or not, but yeah, that's my ultimate goal. Getting better at being on camera. That's key too, because feeling comfortable. But when I'm in the kitchen, I feel comfortable. I don't feel self-conscious.
On it. Yeah, when you came to my house and we videotaped you, you were so good. I was just blown away at how natural you were.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know what else you could do because I we got to get the stations to understand or whoever it is, Bravo TV, if you're listening, Pixie's Pantry. I hope they're listening. So, what advice would you give an aspiring artist or entrepreneur who's looking to turn a passion into a successful business?
Keep going. Don't give up. You're going to fail. You're going to fall. And that's okay because if that's where we learn our valuable lessons. Surround yourself with people smarter than you and believe that your passion is guiding you and leading you into who it is and what it is you're supposed to be and be doing. Just trust.
That's great. So this really ties into what you just said, but I like to always end with a couple of questions. And one is always, knowing what you know now, what advice would you have given your 30-year-old self?
Pay attention to the signs from the universe a little more um, mindfully.
Isn't that the truth? As my mother would say, quit banging your head against the wall.
That's it.
Wow. So one thing that I always like to ask, I'd like to end with a question is has nothing to do with Pixie's Pantry or the artist in you. It's just so that our audience can get a little bit know more about you. Is if you're watching television and you're scrolling through the channels and a movie comes on, even though you've seen it probably a dozen or 2 dozen times, but you're going to watch it again. What's that movie? And if you're not a movie person, then what book would you read over and over?
Well, the movie Sound of Music has always been my favorite.
Okay.
And the book, I've read it twice. It would probably be Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. When I read that in my 20s, it was life-changing. So I would suggest, yes, Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged.
That is awesome. Well, Pixie, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, all about your connections. Pixie, how does our audience connect with you if they want to buy some of your glass? They maybe want to commission a piece, maybe they want a scarf, a wrap, or maybe they just want to schedule a Pixie's Pantry, or they have a connection to Bravo TV to get you connected to for
My
how can they reach you?
website is pixielarizza.com
Spell that.
and it's PIXIELARIZZA.com. And it has pages for all of my businesses. Pixie's Pantry isn't on there yet. However, you can still contact me through the site and I'll be happy to schedule something. But it has everything there, gives you a little bit more background on my holistic practice and the other work that I do.
And she is incredible. So thank you again, Pixie. That's a wrap for today, everyone. And it's just a reminder to keep making those connections every single day because success comes from your connections. Till next time, this is Zelda, Success Through Connections.